I happen to have $44. God knows how I had it. I go on eBay and I'm like, whoa, these are $120.
Was this still mafia controlled Vegas?
I would say Vegas broadly. By the time I'm done with my life, I hope Steve's remembered as nothing more than my uncle. And that she folded a straight flush on the flop because she was so caught up. Like, what the heck just happened? I trust Steve. Steve told me people react and are.
What it is, Brad Lea back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, I got a real treat for you, especially if you're a Las Vegas buff. This here, Blake Wynn, famous uncle Steve Wynn from the Wynn Casino, Mirage originally. Before that, like dealer.
All the way back to Golden Nugget.
Yeah, what was his story like? Dude, how did he rise? I want to talk more about you too, but you know, you can't just skip by Steve Wynn, who's a Las Vegas legend.
I'm happy to share it. You know, it's so, what people don't really know about Steve, he didn't come from much. In fact, Steve wasn't even born Steve Wynn. He was born Steve Weinberg. And his father changed the last name when Steve was a couple years old because he wanted to be a sign painter. They're from upstate New York. He wanted to be a sign painter for Coca-Cola. And in those days, Coca-Cola was really anti-Semitic. You know, it's the 40s. And he wanted the job so bad, he said, well, I'll just dump the Jewish last name and we'll switch the name to Wynn. So Steve Weinberg became Steve Wynn. And he went to University of Pennsylvania and then went to Georgetown Law School. And he was at Georgetown and he was 21 years old. My dad is his younger brother, they're 10 and a half years apart. So he's 10, Steve's 21. And his father got sick and needed open heart surgery. But this is in 1962. And the guy that invented open heart surgery had only performed it 2 or 3 times.
Yee.
So my grandfather was the 4th person or 5th person he tried to perform open heart surgery on. He passed away on the table at 46 years old. So Steve went from being, you know, the son of a bingo business owner in Maryland to now, you know, he inherits debt. He's got a 10-year-old brother who he's now sort of kind of got to be the father for.
How old is Steve at this time?
Steve's 21 and he's in law school. He drops out of law school, takes over the bingo businesses, changes the way they're structured. So instead of operating at a $300,000 a year loss, they start making money. And he comes to Las Vegas on a whim because before his father died, he said, you know, if anything ever happens to me, here's a list of people that you can contact that you should just kind of be around. And one of those people was Perry Thomas, who's a Mormon banker. And so Steve cozies up to Perry and Perry sort of becomes like a father to Steve. And Perry says, well, why don't you come with me? I got some business dealings in Palm Springs and then in Las Vegas, and it'll be fun. So Steve gets with his wife, who's 23. He's already married to Elaine at this time. And they go west with Perry just to spend a weekend. And the first night they have dinner, and Frank Sinatra is having dinner with Perry. So Steve gets to be at this dinner table. And I can't imagine being 23 years old in the heat of the Rat Pack and Frank sitting at a table with you. And Steve was like, I just didn't want to go home. I just decided Vegas was for me. You know, his dad was a gambler. That's why the business always operated at a loss.
Was this still mafia controlled Vegas?
I would say Vegas broadly was. Steve ended up getting involved in the Golden Nugget, which was not really. Essentially what happened was Perry Thomas, using the Mormons' money, got a lot of stake in the Golden Nugget, but Perry's an older guy, has a lot to do. So he says, Steve, if you want to come west, I'll kind of give you a job as a pit boss, but you'll look out for my interests and I'll give you a little tiny piece of the Golden Nugget, which, mind you, had no rooms or anything. It's a gaming hall that makes $1 million or $1.5 million a year. It's a little tiny place, and this is the early 60s. So Steve comes and he does that, and he just, you know, I mean, it's how visionaries are. He had a vision for this town and what it could be in the Golden Nugget. And so without telling you the super long version, he gets into a couple of land deals where he makes some money. So he gets his own little nest egg. And by the time he's, you know, 29 years old, he saved up $600,000, which was enough to buy about 10% of the Golden Nugget, which was the controlling interest. So he did that. So at 29, he becomes the boss of the Golden Nugget.
How was 10% controlling interest?
Because it was a publicly traded company. So the largest shareholder, you only needed 10%. You know, it wasn't
the largest single shareholder.
Yeah, largest single.
Is that what gives you control?
In those days, it did. It was, you know, the Golden Nugget was on, I think it was called the Pacific Stock Exchange. It was certainly a different time than it is now, but he was able to make himself chairman and therefore was able to make himself CEO. And he'd already been operating it for a while, and he was a good operator. The other people in the business liked him. The mob wasn't involved in the Golden Nugget. They were probably involved in other things in Vegas still in the 60s, but not specifically the Nugget. And Steve did that, and then went to Drexel Burnham and got a whole bunch of money to put up over 1,000 rooms. And that's when Golden Nugget went from making $1 million a year to making $1 million a month. He owned it. And then you go down the list, and Golden Nugget Vegas, add the rooms, Golden Nugget Atlantic City, Golden Nugget in Biloxi, Mississippi, then the Mirage, which that was the one that really sort of went from Steve Wynn, the guy from downtown, to Steve Wynn, the biggest hotel operator in history, and hotel designer. And then Treasure Island, Bellagio. People don't know this, he actually owned half of the Monte Carlo as well. A bunch of other smaller non-hotel deals in Las Vegas, and then ultimately sold all of that in 2000, along with Shadow Creek, the golf course.
What did he get for that?
$6.7 billion.
Billion.
But remember, it was publicly traded. So he was the largest shareholder, but it was publicly traded. That for sure was on the Pacific Stock Exchange. So it went from being public to MGM took it private and then rolled it up into their stock. And obviously it's public now because they own all those things. But Steve then took his share of all that money and bought the land to build the Wynn Encore, and then all the Wynns overseas, Wynn Palace and Wynn Macau, ultimately Encore in Boston. So he did basically his regimen, if you will, was a new hotel every 3 to 4 years for 51 years. So he did 14 or 15 total properties in his career, but they were all they all broke the last one's record, and those were global records. So he certainly had that business figured out.
So you're only 25. When were you born into this?
I was born in 99. So he sold Mirage in early 2000. And I was born December 22nd, 99. I mean, I was probably a couple weeks old when he sold. Wynn opened up on my birthday when I turned 6 years old. So I was pretty young, but I will say I wasn't around any of this. I never even really, I had met him, but I didn't even really meet Steve until I was 16 years old. Because he's, like I said, he's my dad's older brother. My parents got divorced when I was really young, and dad left the picture. I was really just raised by single mother. So I wasn't a Wynn for all intents and purposes until more recent years of my life, I guess you could say.
Why so? Why now? Did he take you under his wing?
He sort of did. Well, actually, really funny story. When I was 16, I started a YouTube channel, and really quickly it grew. And this is when not everybody and their mother had followers on social media. In 2016, people didn't use words like influencer. It was a little different 10 years ago. And I was in high school, and 7 months in, I had 100,000 followers, which was a lot on YouTube because they were watching every day, and I was making a few $100,000 a year. And so the Review Journal, the paper here.
How old?
I was 16.
Dang.
And
you think it's in the blood or what?
Well, so it's funny you say it quite like that, because Review Journal reached out. They go, we want to do a little column on you. We're going to call it Success in the Jeans or the Sneakers, and we want to hear about your sneaker business. I said, well, that'd be cool. Older gentleman that wrote the article, a guy named Buck Wargo, he says, let's have breakfast at the IHOP. I said, sure. So we go there, and he's asking me these questions. Now, mind you, I went to the same school, pre-K through 12, with 50 kids in my class. I never met the 60th person in the world in my world until I was 16 and started doing this YouTube stuff. And so I had no PR training. So he's asking me all these questions. At first it's, how does your business work? How do you make money? Where do you source your product? Do you have employees? But then he starts asking me, how much money do you make? What are some things you spent your money on? And I'm going, in the last quarter, I think I made 120,000. I don't spend my money on much. I just turned 16, so I just bought myself a Mercedes, and I'm answering the questions. Little did I know this guy would go print all this stuff. It didn't even occur to me. I just thought I was being honest with an adult, and that's how I was raised, right, by my mom. So sure enough, instead of this little column on Sunday, cover of the Review Journal is a big picture of me sitting in front of this wall of shoes in my mom's house, and it says success in the jeans or the sneakers. The final question this reporter asked me, he says, what does it mean to you to be a part of the Wynn family, or something along those lines, or how do you feel being Steve Wynn's nephew? Now mind you, I don't know this guy. I've seen him. I haven't seen him since I was 3 or 4 years old when my parents were married. I don't know him at all. I said, well, I'm a cocky 16-year-old who's making a lot of money. I said, well, by the time I'm done with my life, I hope Steve's remembered as nothing more than my uncle. And that was what they printed as the sub headline on the paper. Now, I'm at home the day the paper comes out, and all these people are calling me like, you're on the cover of the paper, and they're giving their opinions. My mom was pissed because she's like, you told people how much money you make, you're going to get kidnapped, and, you know, being a protective mother. Sure enough, my phone rings from a number I don't have. Hello? Hi. Is this Blake Wynn? Yes. Hi. This is Steve Wynn, your uncle. Hi, Steve. Wow. Nice to hear from you. Yeah, listen, Joyce, my secretary, brought this paper in that I'm reading about my nephew, the entrepreneur, which I can't believe. But it says that I'm going to be remembered as nothing more than your uncle. Is that really what you believe? Well, Steve, I didn't mean it to insult you. I just, you know, listen, I didn't think you did. You don't know me. I don't really know you. You have confidence like that in yourself. Yeah. Well, I want to meet someone that I share the last name with that's got this kind of confidence, this kind of success. You want to have dinner tomorrow night? Sure. Yeah, it'll be fun. I'll come to the hotel. We'll have dinner. Since then, our relationship, I mean, he's like my father that I never had, truthfully. I really didn't have a father growing up.
Where's your dad?
I mean, he's alive, but we just weren't close. You know, my parents divorced.
Is he rich?
No, not at all. He and Steve don't speak. And when my parents got divorced, I mean, I literally, like, my mom and I lived in the Red Rock Hotel for over a year just because, like, she had nothing, but luckily was friends with Jill Fertitta, so she gave us a room to stay in. So, I mean, I grew up going to middle school at a private school with all these wealthy kids, but, I mean, would go home and I'm in a side-by-side bed in a regular, like, standard hotel room with my mom, and she learned how to trade stock options and has become one of the most successful options traders in the country. And when I was 11, started reselling sneakers, and by the time I was 12, I was paying taxes. By 13, I was earning over $100,000 a year. And so we both kind of took a bad situation, and honestly both ended up really well off, but actually my dad is not.
I was going to say, does dad know all this?
He knows it. Yeah. And actually I will say
he's biting his tongue.
Yeah.
Damn, I lost them both.
We rekindled as I got older. So I do speak to my dad and stuff now, but back then I didn't. So it was really just my mom and I. She's my best friend. We still to this day talk to her every day. We live 10 minutes from each other here in Vegas. But Steve really kind of became that father figure around the time I was 17, 18. And even now we talk every other day, if not more.
Where is he now?
He splits his time between Palm Beach and Aspen. Right now he's cruising in the Atlantic Ocean because he's retired in 83 and likes boats. But yeah, I would say most of the summer he spends in Aspen.
So did you ever, like, once you started hanging out with him, was it like freaking decadent, everything top notch? Because if you hung out with him, like, all he did was perfection.
Success in the genes of the sneakers, I guess, is certainly both, to answer the question. You know what I mean? Talking to Steve, I think why we have such an amazing relationship, I think he feels like he's talking to a younger version of himself, and I feel like I'm talking to an older version of myself. There's a level of selfish gratification that comes from it for him, I'm sure, and certainly for me, but we get along so perfectly. I feel like Steve's got this reputation that, you know, he doesn't get close to a lot of people and things like that. And I would say that that's true, but yeah, no, it's an unbelievable resource. I mean, I guess I'm just lucky. God blessed me putting him in my life. I don't think I didn't need him and he didn't need me, but man, is it fun to have him around. I mean, I'll be discussing a project we're working on, like an event, and we'll be talking about the interior design. We'll spend 6 hours talking about how to design tables, pick fabrics, use, you know, how to pick centerpieces, you know, how to pick furniture. I mean, every last thing. He's Mr. Detail. I mean, that was Steve's secret sauce, if you will, is every last thing that the Wynn does. You wouldn't necessarily realize it, but it's detail. The red in the carpet that's so beautiful, they invented that red and patented that red. So that red is a specific shade that exists nowhere in the world besides in the carpet at the Wynn Hotel. And that's one little tiny example, but that's how Steve thinks about things, and he's translated that to me, and so that's how I'd like to think I think about things too.
So for those of you that guys never heard of Blake, You can follow him at Blake Wynn. Obviously, you know how to spell it. You're also the founder of Celebrity Poker Tournament, which everybody sees on TV. How'd that get going?
It's one of those things, I think, when you're totally immersed in your business and the idea of growing, next thing you know, you come up with different ideas how to scale. I mean, you with how many businesses you have that are all super successful, I feel like you know what I mean when I say that. But a lot of my friends happen to be celebrities because that's the nature of our marketing agency's work. And so a lot of times I'd have home poker games at my house, very low stakes, 50 cent, playing for $40 with all these guys worth 10 million and up, because the point's not money. It's just hanging out, watching a game and talking and whatever. And we're sitting there one day, and Austin Eckler, who at the time led the NFL in touchdowns, this was 2 years ago, sitting next to me, and across the table is Chum Lee from Pawn Stars, who you probably know in town. And the two of them go all in, and they both turn over their hands, and they both have full houses on the flop. Now, mind you, it's $80 pot amongst millionaires, but everybody at the table, who are all other celebrities, are, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Like, how does this happen? And then sure enough, the river card gave the person with the worst full house 4 of a kind. So now this is all happening downstairs in my house over $80. The room of these celebrities is going ballistic. Everybody's standing up. They're, oh my God, they're high five. They don't know what to do with themselves. Finally, the dust totally settles on this situation. And I'm sitting right next to Austin, who just got the 4 of a kind. He puts his hand on my shoulder. He says, tell me you have security cameras in here. I said, all my security cameras are outside. Why? He says, oh, can you imagine if this was on video, how viral this would have gone? And I thought, and it was just light bulb. The next day, incidentally, one of my employees' father owns a company called Poker Go, which produces the World Series of Poker and all these big events. I said, I need to talk to your dad. Okay, sure. Got a meeting with Carrie Katz, and 30 days later, we threw our first event, and now we have our 15th one Saturday after next, and it's grown like wildfire. I mean, of the 10 most viewed poker events of all time, counting the World Series, counting World Poker Tour, anybody else, we're 1 through 10. So
how did you get it on television? Carrie?
No, Carrie had nothing to do with it. We pay them as a vendor. It wasn't on television at first. It was only streamed at first. And I mean, our streaming numbers were better than most television numbers. So we quickly had all the Paramounts of the world, the DirecTVs of the world, like how do we carry this programming? Because we can sell commercial inventory on it and what have you. Because CPT, Celebrity Poker Tour, it's not really about poker at all. I mean, the people don't know how to play poker largely, and if they do, they literally know how to play, but they're certainly not pros. CPT is the kind of thing where you see people sitting next to each other that you would never see together in any other environment, period. You see a guy from Impractical Jokers, which is one of the biggest hit comedy shows of all time, sitting next to the number 2 leading rusher in the history of the NFL and Adrian Peterson, sitting next to, a senator. I mean, that's the kind of dynamic that we create at CPT. So, and then the cards create conflict, right? So you've got these dynamic personalities that have conflict, new conflict every 90 seconds. So it's easy to watch, easy to digest. So it makes for great television.
Any shit talkers?
Oh, so much shit. And the funniest thing is, for someone who knows poker, they shit talk, but they don't know how to play it all. I mean, quite literally in our last tournament, Savannah Chrisley, big reality TV star, flopped a straight flush. I mean, it does not get better than that. And she was so busy shit talking that someone bet. She was like, I'm not going to let you take my money. She folded a straight flush on the flop because she was so caught up in the shit talking, and everyone watching, the whole audience goes nuts, and nobody is like, what the heck just happened? I mean, that's the beauty of them not really knowing what's going on, but it makes for great entertainment. So it's a TV show that we produce, truthfully, and poker's happens to be the medium,
Is there a winner?
Yeah, there's a winner. Yep. So there's 60 players at every event. And so it's free for all the celebrities, but we put up $50,000 to $100,000 for prize pool. Only takes 3 hours. So the winner gets, $25,000, and they get a free private jet ride from one of our sponsors. It's a fun thing to try and win. And once it gets down to the last 5 to 10 players, you can all of a sudden see this shift from drinking and having a good time to oh my God, I can win this thing. This would be cool.
How often do they go on?
We do 8 of them a year. So every 6 weeks or so.
Who am I going to be sitting next to?
8 people you've probably never been in a room with before, but you'd know who they are and they'd know who you are, and that'd be the fun of it. You know, an NFL guy, an NBA guy, a reality TV star, a musician,
any podcast
big
hosts?
streamer. I mean, I can say it. We have Charlie Kirk coming to play in November. He's probably the closest to a podcast host I guess we've had. Yeah, so but that's the whole point, right? Is we want to have a little bit of everybody.
Well, why don't you just get a real one?
You are invited anytime you can.
Dude, I'll go play that in 5 seconds. I'll cancel shit for that. When is it?
August 30th is the next one.
Is it already booked?
If you can play, you can play.
Who you bumping?
I wouldn't bump anybody. We can always add an extra seat or two.
Dude, August what?
30th. It's a Saturday of Labor Day weekend.
Like I said, I'll figure it out.
You
can count me in.
If I can count you in, you're in, and then if not, then November 19th is the one after that.
Dude, I will cancel shit. I'm playing.
I love it.
Dude, that's like freaking, I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking like you could like auction seats off in that thing.
We could.
There's high rollers that'll pay to be in that lineup.
Yeah, that would get into a pretty gray area with the gaming commission.
Why?
Because I don't have a gaming license, so the whole thing is we can give away money, which is what we basically do. But if we were charging for the seat in it, not so much.
Well, you can monetize if you ever want to. You monetize it through ads?
We have ads, we have sponsors, and then the TV distribution deals, and then merchandise. We do. I mean, we sell a lot of merchandise. Our audience was really into the CPT. We make kind of funny poker merchandise that people like. So
anybody that's in the bomb squad can watch me on CPT.
I love it.
No, I'm really coming.
Please do.
So obviously that makes money. What else are you into that nobody knows about?
We do a lot of consulting work. I mean, the marketing agency that I owns all of these other little projects that we do. We're investors and advisors in a number of different companies, and some of those are pretty big companies. We're the agency of record for a number of pretty high profile brands, and then as well, we involve ourselves in political campaigns. As we're legally able to, and as
You say we, is there a group?
No, I just how I talk about my business. I don't have investors and things like that, but
so it's all yours.
Yeah,
dude, is it in the jeans or the sneakers?
Yeah, well, now it's not in the sneakers. Now it's in our marketing ability, but it's
well, what's the marketing agency do, and for whom does it do it?
A little bit of everything. I mean, we do a lot of, content distribution stuff. So if someone goes on a podcast and they want to get their micro clips more widely distributed, we do things like that. PR, experiential marketing, so events and things of that nature. I'll put it this way. I mean, we have about 180 employees. We do a lot of work, I guess you could say.
But I mean, can you like blow me up?
I could definitely help your podcast, I think, yes. But you have a successful podcast.
Well, I mean, dude, honest to God, and I'm not playing humble. A, it's not as big as I want it to be, and B, it's all been just me getting on a microphone. Like I've never advertised it. I've never done anything. So it's grown kind of by itself, but I bet you if I put your agency to work, then it would get the just reward, which is Joe Rogan status.
I would say it's probably true. I mean, we do a lot of work for a mutual friend of ours, Tony Robbins. We do his stuff. His isn't really a podcast. It's his, television network that he's got with Prime Video and all the fast channels. But that is the kind of work that we do. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. Cause brother, I'm looking to like go to another level. And, I've never really thought about hiring a marketing agency, but I will.
Well,
especially yours, because, dude, your Rolodex has to be stupid sick.
I will say there's definitely moments where I've got to pinch myself, because it's cool to think about being 14 years old, living in a hotel room with my mom, and both of us just trying to figure out how to rub a few bucks together. And now, she's a success, and I'm running around the country with everybody that I grew up idolizing, or, leaders. I mean, you name it. I mean,
presidents.
Yeah. I got to sit next to Donald Trump on election night at Mar-a-Lago. That was one of those moments where you're like, how the hell at 24 years old am I sitting here on election night next to him? And
a lot of people might think, well, that's because you're Steve Wynn's nephew, but it's not.
That was not, no.
No, I mean, you started doing shit before. I mean, that's how you met Steve, is you were doing shit.
Yeah, and I would certainly admit, I mean, I did meet Trump through Steve, but I mean, it's one thing to meet Trump and get a picture and a click line. To really spend time with him, get to know him, and all of those kinds of things, he's not doing Steve a favor to have me around by any means.
Have you talked with Barron?
I have met Barron. Yeah, I don't know him super well. I know his other kids better.
So you have a podcast also called Talk of the Trade?
No, it's called The Blake Show.
The Blake Show. What's Talk of the Trade?
I don't know. Oh, you know what? It's funny you actually say that. You actually just unlocked memory for me. Talk of the Trade. I was going to start a podcast years ago that I did not start, that I was going to call that. And I did get trademarks and stuff for the name.
So
funny enough.
You what?
I got like trademark. I was going to start a podcast. This is like, wow, like 5 or 6 years ago. And I didn't do it. But I have that. I do own that name.
So your podcast is called
just The Blake Show.
The Blake Show. And do you market it yourself?
Yeah. I mean,
how big is it?
Okay, so I have 2 episodes. And when I was in high school reselling the sneakers, I would also make YouTube content about sneakers, and I became the most followed person on the internet talking about sneakers. I had 600,000 followers on there, over 1 million on all my platforms and everything. And I post the podcast on there. So I have 700,000 followers because I revived my old platform. But I mean, my first episode got like 60,000 listens on the long form part. So it did well. My second one I just posted yesterday. So
why so few? You just started it?
I just started it like in the last
but people can find it?
Yeah. If they just look up my name, it'll be on YouTube, and it has a few 100,000 followers since it's my own channel.
And obviously you got guests.
Mm.
And
love to have you.
You can get any guest you want.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I'm not a big favor asker. I think it's how you stay in the room. Is you don't ask.
That's
shit.
A good point I make to people, because people always ask me, how do you get around all of these people?
Yeah.
And I say, well, my best answer has always been, you become one.
Yeah.
Because when you become one, you're invited. But other than that, getting in these rooms is important. But when people get in the rooms, they don't know what to do or act like, and they're A, fanboying, they're B, asking for, because they can imagine what you can do for me. So it's almost like you won't stay in the room that way. I've got a decent Rolodex, probably nothing compared to yours, but I can call some people, and I never do. And that's why I can call some people.
That's 100%. It's so funny. People listen to podcasts and self-help, and they do all these things, and their whole objective is to get in the room. Nobody ever studies or wants to learn how you stay in the room. It's so interesting. I don't feel like people talk about that. You don't see clips on social media about it.
Well, let's make some. How do you stay in the room? I mean, say
you have to earn your place.
How about A, you don't fanboy for sure.
Yeah. No, you don't do pictures. You don't do that kind of stuff. I mean, I look at it this way. Like, you can ask for a picture when the time comes that they would ask you for a picture because you're their friend. Otherwise, just save it. You don't need it. You don't.
Not only that, when you see a picture standing next to somebody, they just got a picture. Big deal.
Yeah.
Some people think that means something.
Yeah.
Now, again, I like it when people say, hey, Brad, can I get a picture? Of course you can. I'm flattered by it. I hope anyone sees me in public, come up and ask for a picture. I like doing them. But I would bet if I was really famous, I wouldn't. But at the same time, I'm also still putting you technically in that, they're a fan position, where if they didn't ask for a picture and they were just also successful, then that's where the relationship actually forms.
Yeah, I think there's no real coming back from asking for a picture if you do it too early. I put it that way, right?
Have you made the mistake?
No, I don't believe so. You're in a bucket. If anything, what I would do is I don't know. I think I'm kind of numb to it. I don't really consider myself a picture taking fan of people, if you will. I'd rather have the interaction because I trust my storytelling ability, and I look at it. I see someone like Steve who's blind, who all day long, his favorite activity, if you will, at this stage of his life, I would say, is to have people over and share and tell stories. And I'm thinking to myself, what story are you going to tell? Yeah, there was this one time I was in the room with the president, and I walked up to him, and then we took a picture, and then I left. I mean, there's no story. I'd rather have the interaction. What do you say? And then you can share with your friends, and that's all it's about. People are so caught up in the pictures because then they can go take it and put it on social media and try and leverage that or prove gain and prove it. Yeah, I don't know. I think one thing that is true about all the wins is that we're not really a people that feels the need to prove themselves to others. It's just one of those kinds of things where you do what you're passionate about, you do it to the best of your ability, and the world can just decide how they feel about it. The world could decide how they felt about Mirage no different than the world can decide how they feel about CPT.
Okay, so if you're ever in a room, don't ask for pictures. What else?
We can ask for me, but not with those kinds of people. I mean, that's a celebrity thing. I would say the harder rooms to stay in are the rooms with like CEOs and people that are doing real business because they don't have time to waste. So I think the biggest thing is usually if you can prove to somebody that you can save them time or help them, not literally help them manage their own minutes more effectively, but manage a marketing budget more effectively than maybe their internal team can do in our case, or whatever it may be. If you can prove a certain value that you can bring to the table, and you're willing to also put your own money where your mouth is and say, you don't even have to believe what I'm saying. Like something that my marketing agency has pretty much always done for the last decade that I don't think most marketing agencies do is everybody gets on the phone with the marketing agency and they say, well, if you're successful, I'll pay you anything. I'll pay you millions. If you can actually do it, sell my hoodie, sell my whatever. A lot of times we don't have a sales team. We go out and we look for companies where I'm like, now that's a company that fits in our machine, and we'll go to them and we'll say, here's what we could do for you. Oh, really? Is that the show? Yeah. And over the next 30 days, we're going to do it. I'm going to front the bill. I invest to recruit clients because then I show them what I can do. And I'm like, you want to keep this going or you want to stop it? It's up to you. Oh, keep it going. How much does that cost? And then we get the client, right?
Plus you get the top dollar because now they see and there's no question what they'll pay.
Yeah. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I mean, there's been times in the last 10 years where I've done that for someone and they've thought it was great and, they didn't hire us. But actually something that I think is the most valuable thing that's happened in an internal context is I'll be real confident we can do something and I'll try it for a company for free for a month. And they didn't sign anything. They didn't do anything. I just said, watch, and then I'm going to show you. And I've been like, whoa, I underestimated some piece of this or something, or I overestimated some other variable. And then I don't get into a situation where we would have an unhappy client or someone that would want to leave or whatever it is. Cause I'm like, we didn't even take on the business because I learned what I would have learned with their money. I learned with my own money, and I'm always happy to do that. I think it's a way to be a lot more successful. So we have a pretty, I would say, unique business model as a marketing agency, because I would say it very much so mirrors a more entrepreneurial model than most agencies do, where we take legitimate financial risk to even approach a client, which I don't think, I've never heard of another marketing agency that treats their business like that. But it's why we get the biggest clients in the world and we keep them once we get them.
It's a hell of a concept.
Yeah.
Like, prove it.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, dude, if you really are that good,
yeah,
that's the best way to get a client.
For sure.
You don't even have to sell them.
Yeah.
You just say, watch.
I don't have any salespeople. Everybody, like I said, the 108 people we've got, they're all operators. We don't have a sales team.
So what other businesses you got?
Well, they're not my businesses per se, but we invest in a lot. So, our business has been profitable for pretty much the whole time. It's why I didn't need to raise money. We just started with myself and a friend, but, we invest off our balance sheet and we've gotten some winners. There's a company called Lollipop, which is probably our biggest one right now. It's a alternative soda is essentially the category. It's the biggest in the category. Poppy just sold for $2 billion to Pepsi, and we do double the numbers that they do. So really excited to see what happens with that. And we've been in that for a very long time. And there's just a number of things like that.
You're only 25. How have you been in it for a very long time?
Very long time relation to the they've been around 4 years. We've been in it for 3.5.
Are you helping them market it?
Not anymore, but I was in the early days. They've kind of past that point without revealing their confidential information. I don't know how much more help they need from anybody.
None, sounds like.
Yeah.
So give me some of these stories you have. Like what are some of the stories you tell Steve that you've never told anybody else?
Oh, that's a great question. Steve and I don't really, if he asks me, I'll tell him this is what we make or this is what we do. But the stories we like sharing are the kinds of stories where you just feel like your cleverness was a little bit above and beyond what normally tends to exist. Something that we do, which Steve has spoken about, I think, a number of times publicly, but I learned from him, is a concept called storytelling, where we have an internal meeting once a week where we don't have employee of the month or stuff like that. Stories. Tell me something that you did with a coworker, by yourself, with a client, whatever it may be, where you went a little above and beyond. And then when people share that story, they get to share it in front of everybody else in the office, and they become a total celebrity amongst their coworkers because everybody applauded for them. And wow, they did that. Well, I want to one up that, not because they want to look better than this guy, but because everybody's self-esteem is attached to the, quality of the output that they have in our workplace. And so, I'll like regurgitate stories that they share to Steve, and Steve will be like, they did that? Wow. And he'll love it. And then he'll tell me a story that he remembers an employee doing from back. It's more those kinds of dynamics with him. And, but yeah, it's a hard question to answer. Tell some stories I've never told before. If you give me something specific, I'm sure I can come up with some, but
any, thing that would be like viral, like one time this celebrity, name them, this, name her, and then did that and that and that and that, and nobody knows, but it's a fact.
Fair enough.
Without ruining relationships.
No,
we don't want to ruin relationships.
Let me I had to think for a second.
You got any like issues when people know you're Steve Wynn's nephew? Does it like go against you ever?
No, I mean, I'd like to think, broadly speaking, I'm past the point where I'm looked at as Steve Wynn's nephew. I mean,
and not only that, you're going to have haters anyway.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think I've probably earned those myself. I don't think they hate me because I'm Steve's nephew. I think they maybe hate me because, I mean, there's people in the poker industry who certainly don't like us because they think that we're tainting the integrity of the game of poker. Poker's supposed to be played by people who know the game and know math. And here's the most viewed poker ever is people folding a straight flush on the flop. I mean, there's Is
that what it was?
Yeah.
I know Savannah. I was reading the article and it said she won money.
She did somehow get into the money. Despite that, she did. And that's, again.
Why would she fold?
She didn't know she had. She just straight up didn't know it was a straight flush.
Did she look at her hold cards?
Oh yeah. No, she
cards.
She doesn't know what pair, two pair. She doesn't know what beats what. So she didn't like. She's like, oh, like she.
So she just straight don't know poker.
Well, she said out loud, "Well, I already know you probably have the ace of hearts, so I'm going to fold." And it's like, and the funniest thing is,
so she thought who beat her.
Well, because she folded, it was a guy named Neve Schulman, who's the host of a show called Catfish on MTV. They've been around a lot of seasons. She said out loud, "I think you have the ace of hearts, so I'm just going to fold." And it's like, he did have the ace of hearts, which is the craziest thing. But it's like, Savannah,
that's a flush.
Pray to God that he has the ace of hearts because you have the straight flush. He has the highest flush. You take all his money. That's the dream situation. But I mean, Savannah's a really good friend. We get to know each other quite well. There's political tie-ins, and we're roughly the same age, so she's a great friend, and it's one of those funny moments that just happens. I mean, I will say this too, like, I mean, everybody we invite to CPT, we don't have a team that's like cold reaching out to celebrities and stuff. We're using our Rolodex and relationships, and one guy introduces us to somebody else, and keep it going. Sitting here with you. You want to play? Oh, great, then you'll play. Because I don't want.
I always thought you had to be a celebrity.
I would say you're a celebrity.
I don't, you
pass my test, and you're a good person. That's the thing too. And I was just going to say, like, we don't have jerks come play. We don't do that. Like I was one person I've ever kicked out, and they're not a jerk. They just drank too much to the point where they were like sitting at the table doing one of these. I'm like, you can't throw up on live television, and I don't want that.
Is it live?
Yeah. Well, yes. It can't be. It's
7-second delay.
It's on a 30-minute delay, because that's how. If you're going to film gaming, the Nevada Control Board says you have to have a 30-minute delay. So we do, but you can't edit, even though it's got that delay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could say his name, I guess. It doesn't really matter. Henry Cejudo from the UFC, who's held the title and his stuff. He had a lot of fun with our open bar, and it was time for Henry to stop playing on television. That's all.
So you had to remove him?
It was okay. He understood. He wasn't like, oh, no. He was like, you think so? I was like, Henry, you want to stand up now? He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been in situations like that. Thank God I haven't drank in the last, several years, but, I can see where he would be, having fun, but it would be hard to get him out if he didn't want to leave.
Well, again, going to the nuances of paying attention to every detail, I think to myself, well, if I'm going to have UFC stars, I'm going to have NFL stars, NBA stars, I'm going to have these, and I'm going to have some big guys in here, then I got to have the right kind of security. I hire private security, former Navy SEALs that are there armed and ready to take care of stuff. One person that we actually hired to do security at Celebrity Poker Tour is former SEAL Team 6, who killed Bin Laden, and now he protects Celebrity Poker Tour. But we take that level of detail, and of course it's probably more expensive than your average, Paul Blart Mall Cop kind of security guard. But what do you do if you got to kick Colby Covington out of an event, from the UFC?
Plus you got
like
celebrities there.
Yeah.
Somebody could do something stupid.
But we know everybody. So
where is it held?
At Aria. We film them out of the Aria. We have a studio there.
Is it all roped off, or is there crowds watching?
It's private. No, it's private.
No crowds are watching?
No. Well, so it's literally a doored off thing, but then people will be on the sidewalk outside with pictures of people playing, trying to get stuff signed and whatever. But no, it's totally
But no
private.
poker celebrities.
We did last year in our first year, but both times we had a poker celebrity. They won both times, and I was like, that's not really the point of CPT.
Because I was going to say, they'll clean up every single time, wouldn't they?
Yes and no. So we had multiple, to be fair, and obviously only one of them won. Maria Ho, who's a great poker player, she won.
I heard she's a hoe, though.
Well, I guess based on her name she is, but no, she's so wonderful. And I loved having her, but she was a little too good. But I mean, we had a guy named Mike Matisow, who's one of the winningest poker players in history, and he didn't even get in the top half of the field when we had him play. So,
dude, this is the one you'd want to be in the top half of the field.
Yeah,
because it narrows it down. I went and played at the World Poker Tour, the World Series of Poker.
Okay,
once. Nothing major. I don't even know what the buy-in was. Maybe I want to say 10 grand, but I'm
10 grand's the main event if that's the one you did.
Well, I mean, I was in and I was out quick, bang bang. I was there for maybe 4 hours. Like you're supposed to bag
supposed to be like
up
8 days.
Yeah, you're supposed to bag up and freaking keep coming back. And dude, I was like, in my opinion, I play for fun. I know poker. But when you play correctly, it's boring.
Yeah.
Fold. It's like you never know what's going to flop. So it's like, hold those bastards, go in and see the flop at least. I'm a calling station. So I'll fit right in.
Oh, yeah. Our whole tournament is. I mean, I've seen, for those of you who know poker, right, you pair, two pair, and you go up the list all the way to, royal flush. I mean, I've seen people go all in. And I've seen an athlete sitting at the table be like, well, you think I'm scared? I call. It's like, okay, so what do you got? And they turn over their cards and they have like 9 high. And it's like, well, but like out of ego, they just felt like the bet was an insult directed at them. So they handle it that way. But the whole tournament, we go from 60 players to a winner. So the blinds
in 3
raise,
hours?
Yeah, the blinds raise pretty quick. Every 15 minutes, they basically double. And so you end up going all in a lot. 2 hours in anyway, so you may as well be aggressive in the beginning, but it's just fun.
Can I live stream?
Yeah, we can actually do one better. So the way our tech works, you couldn't literally live stream off your phone.
No, I have a live stream guy that follows me around.
Well, basically, to answer the question, you could stream our broadcast, which is, I mean, we've got 200 cameras, 65 people. I mean, it's a serious. It's for it's for television.
Oh, it's a real deal.
It's a real
I've
production.
Seen it. That's why when I read this, like, oh, dude, that's yours? Shit, dude, I watch that all the time.
Oh, that's awesome. We can send you our broadcast. So you could put our broadcast on your channel. You could monetize it yourself. We let any of our players that want to stream it. So you'd be streaming the main broadcast as fully edited. You couldn't stream on your phone because you'd give away the delay stuff. And so that's the other variable of our tournaments that I think has been very responsible for why it's grown the way it has. People can bet on it. Like we're partnered with the sports book. So like someone could, like your audience can bet on Brad Lea to win, Brad Lea to make final table, who will last longer, Brad Lea or Savannah Chrisley.
I'd bet I'm going to go kick their asses.
And they could do that.
As long as you don't have a bunch of pros.
We have zero. We don't.
If you got just regular people playing regular poker, I'm pretty aggressive.
You are in the favorite category because you're telling me with some confidence and a smile that you know how to play.
Well, I mean, dude, who doesn't know how to play poker? So other than Savannah,
of our player pool, half at least, they don't know.
Well, I know what beats what.
But it's hard to play them.
My shortcoming is, again, I need to see that freaking flop because otherwise it's boring. I mean, how's your poker game?
I would say it's very not. Oh, like my personal game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to see the flop. It's why we play for 50-cent blinds.
Yeah, and then, bro, when it's like no money at all.
Oh yeah, we all do that.
I want to see every flop.
We're basically just playing Go Fish, but we're playing poker.
I've had a 10-2 offsuit
for sure,
and the flop comes 10-10-2, and exactly. I'm like, yes,
100%.
And that's when it's freaking awesome because nobody you would imagine would keep a 10-2. And I'm in
at the celebrity
and they
poker
don't have
tour,
any idea.
There's 169 combinations of 2 cards. All 169 get played at the celebrity poker tour. I can tell you that.
So everybody's in.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. People fold and whatever, but they'll fold Queen 10, but then they'll play 7-9 because they like red,
or
and
the
cards
suited.
are red, right? I mean, or because they haven't played in 2 hands, they get antsy. They're like, all right, well, I'm just going to be in because I'm bored, And then so it's. Or someone will say something to someone else at the table. There'll be a little table talk, and then next thing you know, there's that instigation that happens that makes them want to play. But that's what it's all about.
Language.
Oh, people cuss. Yeah, I mean, there's a line on certain words you can't say, of course. But
where does it stream? Everywhere.
Yeah, no, I mean, if someone says something, it's going on Paramount, it's going on DirecTV, it's going.
Do people bring like camera people or no?
Some do, yeah. The people that have YouTubes usually do. They don't have a YouTube.
So I can bring my camera guy?
Oh, yeah.
And we can just capture it all?
For sure.
And then chop it up and drop it later?
We love that, yeah.
All right.
Makes it
Nate,
fun.
you're in.
Yeah. Oh, it's a lot of fun.
What time does it start?
It's like 30 minutes of red carpet and PR and cocktails, and then starts at 4, and then we start flipping cards about 4:30, 4:40. The broadcast starts at 6, so we start an hour and 20 minutes before, because what ends up happening is every hour and a half we have a player break, so we get 2 breaks where everyone gets 15 minutes of there's no cards being dealt. I mean, the whole time there's servers with food and drink and what have you, but people also just want to go to the bathroom, take a break. You can stand up during the hands, but if you get dealt cards, they'll just fold them. So that kind of sucks. But because we need to have a 30-minute delay, the first time you take a break, you go from having an hour and 10-minute delay to having a 55-minute, then to having 40. You see what I'm saying? So the player breaks that take place in the studio, our audience at home doesn't even know they exist.
Dude, you got me excited. I was like, I just want to go.
I can tell you're into it because you're asking all the questions that like players will ask me when I'm like, hey, come check this thing out. They get excited and ask all these questions.
Playing poker is actually fun. I like it. But
But
when you play it right, it's not. Because
Preaching to the choir.
If you play it right, dude, you're folding most of the hands, and now you're just watching people deal.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's boring.
It is.
So I have to be in the hand to make it fun.
You've got the perfect attitude.
But still, what's also fun is who I'm playing with.
Yeah.
You can talk shit to some people you'll never even meet.
For sure.
Are people wearing sunglasses?
Some do. We had a pretty funny moment where Adrian Peterson wore mirrored glasses. So for the first half hour,
you can see his cards.
Saw his cards. And then finally, a UFC fighter told him what was going on. And he thought that was pretty funny. He actually went on to do really well in the tournament. We actually are just about to we just did a little partnership where now we've got a bunch of those Meta Ray-Ban glasses for people. So we'll be able to like embed videos into the broadcast or just use them for social of people's, point of view, playing their hands and stuff. So, I mean, the whole thing is content, right? So I could care less what happens with the poker.
Dude, that's great content. And as soon as that happened at your house,
it was instant.
What kind of revenue does that generate?
I mean, it's a multi-million-dollar business, and it's 18 months old. Yeah,
dude, I would see that getting huge. It might even revive poker, because there was a minute where poker got huge.
Yeah,
then it kind of went a little bit down.
Yeah,
and I bet you that'll bring it back, because dude, poker's just a great game.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put it this way: it makes millions of dollars, and all that money is made off of just the entertainment factor. We don't make any money off poker.
And when you say we, you mean you.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. I just don't talk about things that way, I guess.
Dude, listen, I got to get more like that, because I'm always I. And I mean we, but I just say I because in the beginning it was just technically me. So it's like I. But the right way to build a good culture and a good team is to say we.
But in all fairness, I'm not even trying to do that to take this really humble stance. It is a we. I mean,
well, you couldn't do it alone.
Personally, throw these things totally.
No, obviously,
right?
But you must
I can personally finance it, and I can make the big decisions and give the big pitches and what have you. But at the end of the day, it is seriously a team effort. I mean, there's 12 full-time employees plus another 60 some contractors, plus
high security,
sponsors.
I would imagine.
Yeah. There's
people
security.
Aren't getting in without credentials.
Yeah. We have a check-in process. It's not that. I mean, you'll see when you come. It's a pretty private studio. So,
what are people wearing? Their brands.
What's really fascinating is it happened the first event, totally unexpected. I was like, I want to kind of set a tone. I want this to be kind of like Casino Royale vibe. So I wore a suit, but I didn't tell anyone. It was the first event. How are you going to tell people what it's going to be, right? I did that, and a few players did that. And intentionally, and here's a little nugget of information that no one knows. And when they see this, they'll think it's maybe interesting years down the line. The first tournament, I remember we had created the seating charts for everything. And I remember all the celebrities come, and some celebrities are in hoodies and baggy sweatpants ready to play some cards, and some celebrities came in suits and perfectly tailored and the whole thing. And I remember telling my business partner, Brock, who's COO of the business, and I said, Brock, get all the well-dressed people, put them on the main table. Like, because originally we only showed one table at a time. Now we show everything. The broadcast evolved. But I was like, that's how I want us to be looked at. Now people don't come in suits, but the athletes, they come, dripped out. They wear their nice Louis Vuitton, whatever. The girls, they're in heels. They dress nice. The guys, some wear little blazers, some wear fancy brands. But also everyone maintains their own personal style. Like Todd Chrisley came and played. He was dressed like you're seeing now, because he's an adult business guy. He's not a 25-year-old NFL star. You know what I mean? So, but that's what makes it so interesting is like when you look at this table visually, here's NFL star with diamond teeth and necklace and the whole thing, sitting next to Impractical Joker's Brian Quinn, for example, who's in like a flannel and like his hair looks unkept. But that's Q, and that's the NFL guy. And even just that visual, you're like, wow, I'm a Chiefs fan that watches Impractical Jokers, and I've never would have thought I would have seen Marquez Valdez-Scantling sitting next to Brian Quinn, but here we are. And it's only at the CPT that you see those kinds of dynamics.
And somebody wins money.
8 people.
Do they donate it?
They can.
Or do they walk?
They do their own version of donating, which is that they usually then take that money into the casino and leave it there by virtue of roulette or blackjack or something else.
Do you have any interaction with the audience?
Oh, yeah. Like me personally?
No, in the show. So like I can bet on or do something, because you would think like if you create some sort of viewer interaction.
Yeah, the audience can bet, and they can even live bet. So as people get busted out and as people build big chip counts, it's like watching an NFL game, right?
But I mean, is that going on in the show a lot?
Oh yeah.
Do you have any like text in for this or text in for that?
We don't do much SMS. But yeah, people can bet on it throughout the show. Also, the reason we like to have some of our bigger players stream, if they have a YouTube or something like that, is because when you have a stream, there's, people can comment in the chat, right? So you can see what people are like thinking. And we have 2 amazing commentators we hired from ESPN who commentate for CPT. So it's a real broadcast. And so Jeff and Brent, who are our commentators, they will have the different screens open with people's chats. So they'll say, everyone watching from Savannah Chrisley's channel, they all want to see more of Nanny Faye talking. And then, in fact, the commentators will text me on the side and they'll be like, the audience loves Nanny Faye, which is the Chrisley's grandma. Was
she there?
Yeah, she played the last event. Our oldest player ever yet, 81 years old. She was sitting there. She was so sweet and hysterical. I mean, she didn't know how to play. None of them knew how to play besides Julie, incidentally.
Were all the Chrisleys there?
Yeah, and in fact, it was their first appearance as a family outside of a Fox interview since they got pardoned. So it was very cool to have them all there, and press went crazy and everything. But Faye didn't really know how to play, but she loves cards. So someone would bet at her, and she was like, "Why hang up?" And the dealer was like, "What?" She's like, "I hang up. I'm not putting in no more money." And they're like, "That means fold." "Why? You say what you want. I hang up." And like, I mean, the audience just eats it up, because it's like, here's like this TV grandma that they've loved for 10 seasons of their show.
Am I the only one that people are going to go, who's dude?
No, it's so interesting you bring that up because as much as it's a very diverse group, if you're an NFL fan, you're like, who are these reality TV stars sometimes? If you like the Chris Lee show, you might not watch football or, so, and that's the fun thing. You bring a lot of audiences together, but there's definitely times where people are staring at a table of 9 players and they love 2 players and have never heard of 5. It doesn't mean they're not famous. It's just, right. I mean, our young audience, we have Jose Canseco plays. He loves to play. He lives here. So he comes and hangs out and plays. But the young audience that we have of people that are, 18 to 25, a lot of them don't know who Jose Canseco is, which is crazy because he's one of the great baseball players of all time, but they don't know who he is. But then my dad tunes in at 73, or Steve tunes in and he's like, now who is Dixie D'Amelio? And she's got, 50 million or 60, some stupid amount of followers. She's like one of the biggest TikTok stars on the planet. Right. And so, but that's the fun thing. It gives someone like Steve will root for Jose Canseco then, and her audience will root for her, and your audience will root for you. And that's the fun part. And so everybody, one of the big things when you're watching television, really in general, is there needs to be a hero and a villain, and it's hard to do that in a lighthearted environment like the CPT, but it very much so happens because everybody has their hardcore audience. The Drop and Bomb Squad is not going to want to see you get beat out by anybody, even if they know who the other person is. Yeah. So you'll be their hero, and these people will be the villain, but then those will be somebody else's heroes, and you'll be somebody else's villain. And so it makes it easier to watch, and then they can put their money on it too if they want.
Well, I mean, again, there's definitely a lot of people that know who I am. I get stopped at airports and and all over the country. So I'm definitely, known, but I always think of a celebrity as like a celebrity. And so every time someone refers to me as one, or I get invited to things as one, I always think like nobody really knows me, which is, people think I'm playing humble, but it's because like to me, Leonardo DiCaprio is a celebrity, right? Brad Pitt is a celebrity, NFL stars, Savannah, these guys have TV shows, like that's celebrity. I have an Instagram and a YouTube and a TikTok, and I'm a businessman. I don't even do that on purpose. I got a podcast, but again, I do this because part of my mission is to get the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. Why? Well, because I think people need information, which is a lot of the reason I think people don't succeed is because they don't have the right info. It's not that they're not willing to work. Look at all the workers. They just don't have the right information. Like people out there busting their asses for 80 grand or less. I always think to myself, you realize you can sell something, right? Like you can pick up a skill to close. You can learn how to network. You can learn how to build relationships. You can learn how to market. You can learn how to build a personal brand, and you can make 800,000 with half the work, and they don't realize it. So I try to just get the knowledge out there.
Do you think that's true, that with half the work, they could make 10 times the money?
I shouldn't say half the work. I should say easier. Like, in other words, because when I was 16, my parents are all blue collar, mill workers, loggers, things like that. So I was always told to get a real job, so I said, okay, fine. I went out and applied for the Forest Service, and I got a job on the fire crew. Thought I was going to be a, firefighter in the forest. I pictured myself in a flannel shirt with like an axe over my shoulder and like a wolf by my side, and I was going to go save eagle eggs and shit. But that's not what happened. I showed up. They put a big, huge backpack filled with water on my back, told me to climb up and down these hillsides and squirt stumps that might be smoldering, because the real firefighters, the real dudes, they already were off, fighting another one. I was squirting stumps, and I was getting poison oak, and it was like the worst job ever in the history of the world. So I still work as many hours, but dude, this...
Yeah, I mean, the physical labor component...
I make 100,000 times more than they paid me right now doing this.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And so it's like, this isn't work. The shit I do isn't really work. So that's what I mean by less work. You might still put in the same time, but bro, this is not work.
Is certainly less, but it requires a lot that most people, it's not they don't have, but they don't even know where to start to get it. they want to have it. That's why they listen to your show.
That's why I want to get that information out there.
But it's I would say it's easier said than done. I mean, I do think,
this podcast will inspire someone listening to be like, dude, I can do that. You know what I
mean? I hope so.
Happens all the time, which is why I kept it going. I originally did it just so when people came in, like, the gurus, they'd come in to film their courses, and I'd just get them on.
Right. Why not?
Yeah. And then it's like, I didn't have a guest one day, so I grabbed my handyman and put him on. And then that was what not to do. And then, people loved it. And so then I'm like, I can pretty much put anyone on as long as we're talking about, and how'd you do that? And well, what happened there? And how'd you get away from that? And what should they avoid?
Yeah.
Now with you, only because, like, dude, I just got so many questions for you. Now discovering all this, I got a million more. Because again, dude, like, very impressive. You're just popping them off accidentally, almost.
Yeah.
I mean, not accidentally, but you know what I mean?
I just, like I said, I mean, I think certain people get very immersed by what they do, and it's all they really think about. I mean, it's not to say there's not downsides of it, but I'm the kind of person that puts my business first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on. And so all day long, that's what I'm thinking about. From the second I wake up to the second I go to bed.
It's just not physically hard.
Yeah, not really. No, I'm not sprinting. I'm not carrying stuff. I'm not risking my physical safety, really. I guess you could argue that I sort of am, but not really.
You're not washing dishes.
No.
You're not cleaning hotel rooms. Even a pit boss, dude. Like, you think, oh, they're just sitting there. I mean, dude, they got to stand there all day long. Like, I used to work the booth at these conventions, and for some reason, man, after about 2 hours, bro, of standing, it's a bitch.
In all fairness, too, I mean, I think there's a real question of what's worse on someone, or what's harder on someone, physical or mental burnout. I mean, right, these people end up with probably arthritis and much worse in a lot of cases. But they, I mean, a lot of people who try to be entrepreneurs and aren't successful, then you get into you start going down a very other side of the spectrum of issues you face. So, it's, I mean, I don't think life's designed to be easy by any means, no matter what you do, which is why you may as well like it. And I like what I do, and I think a lot of firefighters like what they do, and they got to be in perfect shape, and they look like you, and they're totally filled out. And there's guys who look like me who just, they go to an office every day, or they they use their brain to make ends meet and everything else, and gotta be happy.
What does your day look like? A normal day in the life of Blake Wynn?
I live here in Las Vegas. I travel probably 15 to 20 days a month, visiting clients, throwing events that we've, need to throw for clients if it's large scale and I need to be there for one reason or another. So it's a lot of travel. So flights, I don't have my own plane yet. So you got to add the hour on both sides for the commercial airports and what have you. I am someone who really does not believe in meetings. I hate meetings. I'm like, if you've got my number, call me. If you don't have my number, we don't need to set up a meeting, probably, because I could have given you my number and I didn't. I don't like to get on a Zoom for 30 minutes and sit there and do this and do that. And I think that's the fun of having the kinds of clients that we have, where Tony's a perfect example. Like, Tony's not setting up 30. I mean, he does probably participate in a lot of meetings, but when he wants to talk to me, he just calls me or sends a voice text or whatever it is. And I very much so like that, because it gives you a little more freedom. I would say, conceptually, what I'm thinking about is usually on the poker side of things, I'm thinking 1 or 2 or 3 events ahead, thinking of what are some new variations we can add, what are stunts we can add, things we can get away with. I mean, we had Matt Franco play in the last event, and during one hand, we'd kind of gotten the dealer in on it and stuff. We had him do a whole magic trick, and everyone's like, wait, what the heck happened? He screwed with it, and then you undo it, but the clip of that got 10 million views. So it's I would say it's largely creative. I mean, at the end of the day, when you own a business, it's your vision that turns into your business. So
is this your main business?
Yeah, the marketing agency is my main business, and it owns all these. Everything else I mentioned to you today is owned by my holding company that I run, which is the marketing agency. So the marketing agency, if there's people listening that would say, dude, I'd love to hire you. Obviously, you're not taking on just anybody. No, I would say we're not in the business of looking for new clients at this minute. And when we will come to you. Yeah.
See, that's even the exclusivity that makes people want to call you.
Yeah. Again,
now, by saying that, everybody's now going, damn, dude, I want him to work. I want to hire that agency.
Yeah. Well, you know, it wasn't always that way. We used to have sales. I mean, right. You grow a business. We're 8 years into the marketing agency. This will be my 14th year paying taxes. And I mean, I started this with $44 and 2 pairs of sneakers when I was 11 years old. And I've turned that $44 into everything you see now. So you know, it's you graduate from certain things. I mean, there's probably a point where if someone would have offered me $100 for something, I would have been like, okay, where do I meet you? What do I do? I'll do it, you know. But in business, as you know too, right? You get to, it's fun to outgrow things. It's fun to graduate from levels, if you will, of business and move on to the next. That's what it's all about, right?
Sure
Otherwise,
is.
you're not making any progress.
I had a buddy of mine call the other day. He runs a dealership. And when I first started Lightspeed, I was selling training to car dealerships. And like I would go to the car dealership and put on the event. That's what led to the software. I'm like, I can't keep doing this. Anyway, so he didn't know that like I turned it into software and then turn it into all the dealerships and then turn it into manufacturers and turn it into all these other things. So he calls me one day and he says, hey, how you doing, man? You never call, you never write? And I'm like, yeah, you know, how you been, man? He goes, yeah, I'm good. Listen, pay attention. Okay. I got my dealer. He's willing to pay you. Okay, you need to be here on Friday. You know, I'm like, for what? He's like, to do your training thing.
It's like, I don't do that anymore.
I said, bro, you don't follow me apparently because like you couldn't pay me to show up and do that.
Right.
Like you couldn't give me enough money to show up for a day and spend the whole day training your sales team. He's like, oh, you're big time now? It's like, it was funny. But I think that's graduating a level.
Yeah,
because I before would have said, what day? Yeah. For sure. Instead, now I'm getting invited to celebrity poker tournaments.
Right.
So can you go to the Wynn and like pull rank?
No.
And get in places that it's hard to get in, and you got to have some.
Quite literally.
You don't text Steve and be like, Steve, the new 666 or quad 6 or whatever that.
Steve would
is that the Wynn that the 6 is opened up in?
Is that social club thing?
No, there's some, you know, it's on Yellowstone, Taylor Sheridan's steak joint. I went there. And by the way, Taylor, love your shows, bro. Like, dude, you know Taylor Sheridan?
I don't know.
You heard of him?
I actually have not.
Dude, it seems like every good show on television, he's behind.
He's a producer?
Yeah, Yellowstone, Lioness, frickin'.
Oh, it's great.
Landman. You know Landman?
I know, but I knew the first two.
Every single show he touches is seemingly just off the charts killer.
Interesting.
So part of Yellowstone's storyline was this 4-6 ranch. And so he bought that actual ranch, and then they opened up a restaurant. I don't know where it is, but it was hard to get in. Couldn't get in. So I was just using that as an example, but like you can't call Steve and say, hook it up. You could, you wouldn't.
I've never in my life, I don't even think I could. I mean, at the end of the day, like Steve did step down, right? So
yeah, but he's still Steve.
He is still Steve, but that's not, you know, to me, he's Steve. He's not Steve Wynn, you know? Yeah. So I don't call him like he's Steve Wynn. I call him like he's Steve.
Well, dude, that's a very valuable thing to be able to do because he's a very, what a mentor to have.
Yeah. He's a mentor. He's not a reservations agent.
And why is and why were all his casinos so damn successful? I mean, when the Mirage, I moved here in 91 and I didn't even move here. I came to visit, spent all my money the first day and had to get a job in order to get back home. So I went and started waiting tables at this restaurant called Fratelli's. And
it's still here, isn't it?
I don't think so. Maybe. I don't know, but I waited tables to get enough money to get back home, and then I started meeting local people. And the next thing you know, I'm like, I'm making pretty good tips. I'll just stick around for another week, and then another week, and I've never left. And that was 91. I moved here. I didn't move here. I came here July 7th, 1991. And everyone always says, why'd you move to Vegas? And I always say, bad acid trip. Because, it was just a visit on the fly. But anyway, stayed, loved it. And when I got here, dude, Mirage was, I think it was either
Would have been
just
3
opening
years old or 2 years old.
or just opened, one of the two.
Yeah.
But it was like, dude,
I think that was Mirage was I think 89. So
the Mirage, like the volcano and the dolphins and Siegfried and Roy, and it was like the main thing. So like, why does all his properties take the number one spot? Even today, when people say, where do you stay? I always tell them Encore, Wynn. Those are the best ones.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think corporations think about things the way that he thought about things. I mean, to do a Steve impression, he would say 10% of a place. He says, what do you think people come here for? The 10%, the hand-woven carpets, the crystal chandeliers, the fancy artwork? Maybe. But why do they stay and why do they come back? 90% is the way they're treated by the people that are here. People love people. People want to be treated, you think about escapism and all of those sorts of things, no different than television and everything else. People want to feel like they have, access to something for a weekend where they don't have to be themselves. They can dress different. They can act different. They can do different things. Sure, it all costs money. They can gamble. They can eat. They can dine. They can watch shows, whatever they want to do. But ultimately, they get a total euphoric, sensational escape from whatever their current life is. And that's if you could be a billionaire or you could be someone who saved up for 20 years to come to Las Vegas and stay at honestly a bad hotel, even never mind one of Steve's places. But you're here because it's Las Vegas. It's like the city of lights and mystique and intrigue. And, it's got that lore of how it was built in the 50s with the mafia stuff. So it's like this perfect assimilation of sensory overload for people. And as long as you can treat it responsibly, it's a great vacation destination or it's a great place to live. Obviously there's a few people who go too far and then that's a shame. And then you got to deal with that. But, his hotels, the level of theater, he was in Bellagio, which is a small city on Lake Como in Italy. And he was like, can you imagine if this was in Las Vegas? And he was sitting at lunch with Paul Anka, and Paul's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, imagine if instead of if your eye, instead of it seeing desert like it expects, it saw a beautiful lake pressed up against beautiful little shops and restaurants like we're sitting in right now. Well, Steve, there's nothing like that in Las Vegas. I know, Paul. That's the point. And so that's how he comes. That's how he comes up with stuff. One of his favorite sayings is first an idea, then the execution. First an idea being, how do you bring Lake Como to Las Vegas? First idea being, the idea of the volcano, the idea of the fountains, and then the level of refinement and the level of access. Talk about a guy with a Rolodex. Like obviously Steve's has maybe the strongest Rolodex of anybody I've ever seen, including the sitting president of the United States. Trump will call Steve, can you put me in touch with this person? I've seen it, right? Because perfect example. Here's a story that I think could maybe go viral for you. Asked if I knew stories. I know some Steve stories for sure.
Well, he basically decides who's freaking governor here, doesn't he?
No, well, he doesn't even have a place here. He has nothing to do with Las Vegas anymore. Since he retired as CEO, he has nothing to do with anything in Vegas. But when they were building Bellagio, they built the fountains and they were shooters and, they go up and they were dramatic and they played music, like Singing in the Rain and all that stuff. And he was watching it. And this is how he tells the story. I was watching it one day and I was like, I don't understand what's missing. But he's like, but this is meant to be a show. It's meant to be a movie. It's meant to be dramatic. So I called Steve Spielberg and Kenny Ortega. Kenny Ortega is like the most famous choreographer probably of all time. He started that show like So You Think You Can Dance back in the day and all that. Spielberg, obviously needs no introduction. And he had the two of them watch. And Spielberg says, it's not dramatic enough when the fountains go up. Instead of them just shooting up to the music, there should be a microphone aimed at the shooter so that way it would go boom. So that little boom you see was Steven Spielberg's idea. Now, Kenny Ortega's watching this with a choreography background. He says, Steve, you got it all wrong. The fountains, they're dancers. They're not shooters. They need to dance. They need to be choreographed. It's like, I'll introduce you to the engineer. Screw around with it if you want. So Kenny Ortega, instead of Singing in the Rain and it's boom and it's boom, Kenny Ortega was when they remade the shooters and the whole thing, and then the fountains sway like this. And Steve was like, I remember seeing and thinking to myself, holy shit, they just changed the world. It's not only me that does all these things. Yeah, sure, fountains are my idea, and I found the guy to do it and all other stuff. But when you go watch it, the fountains dance to the music. They don't just shoot to the beat. They literally dance. They sway the whole thing. And when there's the dramatic shoot up, you can hear the booms because there's microphones aiming at the shooters. And that was their idea. So there's thousands of Steve stories like that, but that's how you end up with a place like that. And I think that's, it's very much so, conceptually speaking, when he tells me these stories, I'm listening to him enough that I can regurgitate it almost verbatim to you like I just did, but also in a way where I can think of how I can apply that to my own business. So Steve says to me, he says, here was the magic of Bellagio. I was the first person who figured out how to create a cash register on the Strip, and nobody even knew it. Because if you walked by the Bellagio and saw these fountains that you'd never seen before, he said, you think there's anybody, especially in the earlier days of Bellagio, that could have seen those fountains, and the first thought in their mind wasn't, well, what's inside if this is what's outside? So he said it was the perfect cash register. You didn't have to pay to see it. They were free. But then you come in. He said, so when I sold Bellagio, he said, I had my work cut out for myself, because what am I going to do? Create a second-rate property, what I've already done? What's that going to mean for my life? And that's not stimulating. I don't want to do that. So he said, before we broke ground at Wynn, before we started drawings, he said it was me, 2 or 3 of my close guys, and we'd get in a room, and he said, Bellagio is grandeur. Is it not? With the fountains and the way it's designed. He says, so we got to figure out before we do anything, what trumps grandeur? And he said, we spent months on it. And he said, one day I came up with the answer. What do human beings potentially like even more than grandeur? He said, it's the reason why people go on vacation, but they always go back home. People like intimacy more than they like grandeur. I want to create a place intimate. So instead of the Wynn being big and open and the whole thing, he says, everything's curved, lots of doors. He says, I wanted people to feel like when they walked down a hallway and then they saw, oh my God, there's a mall over here. Oh my God, there's a shop over here. He's like, I want them to feel like Magellan. I want them to feel like they were discovering something in the property. I wanted everything behind a wall on Vegas Boulevard. You want to know what we got going on in here? Go ahead. Come inside. We don't have anything on the sidewalk for you last time, like Bellagio. And so, again, I hear all this enough to say it to you, but then I think about the Celebrity Poker Tour, and I'm like, people, it's very clear, and you've proven it, right? We're a hospitality business in a lot of ways. If you don't enjoy your time, you're never going to come back, and we'd like to have people come back. You're not going to speak about it well, and I don't control what you say about your experience at CPT afterwards. All I can do is set up as much as I can to make sure that you have a good time. So I remember going to the team before we threw our very first event, because I knew all these stories from Steve, and I said, all right, guys, before we figure out who we're inviting, what vendors we're working with, before we even get into all of those things, what part of CPT is grandeur and what part of it is intimacy, and how are we going to embed those two things as the tent poles of what makes the Celebrity Poker Tour the Celebrity Poker Tour? And that's how we approached it, to tell you the truth. It wasn't money. It wasn't, like I said, I didn't fundraise. It wasn't any of those things. It was just conceptually speaking. And that's why it's so funny. You didn't ask the question, which I respect, but people always ask it, which is, well, how much money is Steve giving you in life? None, because he doesn't have to. Learning this, it's not like watching a Gary Vaynerchuk clip on Instagram talking about business, and it's like, oh, okay, like, right, this is a level of depth. This is how you pick centerpiece. This is how you pick fabrics. This is what grandeur means. Like, I don't know. I guess it registers to my brain well enough that I don't feel the need to.
Well, that's invaluable right there.
You don't need anything more than that. It's much better to be taught how to go make 100 million than to be given one. And I think everybody has that in common, and most people do if they're got the aptitude to work.
If Steve came to me and said, Brad, I'll tell you what, I'll hand you 20 million, or you can call me if you have any questions, I'd take the phone calls.
And you would be making the absolutely correct partner
anybody
choice.
with a brain would do that. Yeah. But most people, they'll take the 20 million because they don't realize the relationship's more valuable than the money anyway.
And in all fairness, to many people, the relationship might not be. You have to know how to handle relationships like that.
Well, here's the way I look at it. Like, let's say it's the last day of your life and you're done tomorrow, and you ask anybody this and you say, what are you going to do? Most people would say, I'm going to go home and spend time with my family. if it's your last day on earth, you're going to spend time with your family. They say, yeah. Okay, now what if you woke up the next day and you realize, nope, it wasn't the last day, you get one more day. Well, I'd spend time with my family. Okay, well, that doesn't cost any money. So why is everybody so worried about the 20 million when the relationship itself is the value? Like relationships at the end of the day is the most valuable thing, because when you're born, if you don't have relationships, you won't survive. And when you die, it's all you care about. But in between, we forget.
Yeah.
And because we're after that dollar, and we're after that dollar so we can like feel something. Well, at the end of the day, relationships are more value than the dollar.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I've been fortunate that everything I've always liked doing has spit out money. But when I was reselling shoes, that was my video game. All my friends played Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, whatever it was growing up. I played eBay. You know,
how'd you know what shoes to buy? You were just into them?
No, I didn't like shoes. I ended up later in life kind of liking shoes, but no,
were you reselling Nikes or like a sneakerhead or anything shoe?
I mean, being a sneakerhead, this was in 2010. Like being a sneakerhead was a really small niche community. It wasn't like it is now with StockX and these huge corporations worth billions that help facilitate this. This was a little community. I mean, if you had a sneaker trade show come to town, it could be in a conference room. I mean, it'd be like 80 people in there with like a couple boxes of shoes trying to, you know, so, and I would go to those things, but no, I resold shoes in a very different way. The very first time I did it, I was in Park City, Utah. I happened to have $44. God knows how I had it. To tell you the truth, I don't know how I had the $44 in my wallet, but I had $44. And I walked into an Adidas outlet, and right on the front, there was a folding table with a tablecloth over it, because it's a small town, but they had an outlet. And there was a stack of like 16 pairs of these really ugly, fancy looking Adidas shoes on it. And it said, today only, $19.99, must go. Suggested retail price $199.99. For whatever reason, my brain was like, that's a big discount. Like, it's got to be worth more than that on the internet. Because I was familiar with eBay. I liked Pokemon cards, a really little kid. And so for my birthday, my mom would be like, you can spend $100 on my card, go on eBay and buy whatever little Pokemon cards you want. So I was familiar with eBay from the time I was really, really little. So sure enough, I go home, I go on the computer, I go on eBay, and I took a picture. So I look up the shoe, and I'm like, whoa, these are $100 or $120 on eBay. I go back to the outlet mall. I buy the 2 pairs of shoes, my $44. I put them on my mom's eBay without her knowing, because I was logged into it. She gets these emails the next day. She's like, Blake, what did you sell on my eBay? I was like, sneakers. What do you mean? How are you going to ship them? Well, you need boxes, you need tape. I was like, I already got it. Behind the outlet mall, there was a cardboard dumpster. So when I bought the shoes, I rode my bike down to the outlet mall, because we lived in Utah then. And I not only bought the 2 shoes, but I knew that I was going to have to ship them. So I went in the dumpster behind the Adidas store where they had all their crushed up boxes, and I took 2 boxes. So I was like, all right, I have the boxes. We have tape in the laundry room. I taped them up. I'm like, they're ready to go. I printed the label. Why are you going to get them to the post office? I can't just drive. And it's okay. I got bungee cords too. With the other $3, I got bungee cords. I like strapped to my bike, took them to the post office. They both sold for $110 the next day. So now my 44 was $220, and $220 went back to the store, got 4 more pairs, and turned it. And
so where would you find killer deals like that to make it a business?
Usually outlet malls. I mean, it was an arbitrage business. It was, stuff.
You were literally finding them somewhere for a killer deal and then just putting them on eBay for a little markup.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes it wasn't little. I mean, like that. I mean, I make 5X, on a pair of shoes. I mean, my minimum was I always wanted to make at least 60%.
Did you ever wonder why the store didn't just put them on eBay?
No, didn't really care. I was kind of glad they didn't, I guess. Right? At the end of the day, you can only control what you can control. So I didn't really think about that kind of stuff, to tell you the truth.
What is your end goal? Like, what is Blake Wynn's vision of like when you're 40?
I don't really have one, to tell you the truth. I think every entrepreneur is different. I see a lot of entrepreneurs talk like they are so convinced of everything about their future. pivoted and grown and scaled enough different times to know that I really don't know. So it'd be kind of silly to estimate where we're going to end up. And all I know is that I'm going to keep working in a way where I enjoy what I do every day. I mean, it's like what you said about, earning dollars. I liked reselling shoes. I liked getting on my bike. I liked the independence of back when I was a little kid. I liked the money. I liked, I bought the iPad for myself when I was 12. And I remember, loving that and having the iPad and being able to use it for spreadsheets. I mean, and instead of having to do, notebook paper and a pencil, I thought that was a big upgrade for myself. And so, very shortly after that, I loved making videos on YouTube. I loved, I love running the marketing agency, the poker business, the political stuff, the client stuff. Like I only do stuff that I really enjoy. So I guess you asked me what I'll do in 40 years, like whatever I enjoy in 40 years, I guess.
That's the way to live, folks. I got to tell you, that is the way to live. Because ultimately, isn't that why people want to get rich?
Yeah.
To live that way.
And I will say it's easier said now. I wouldn't have probably said this 10 years ago, but now I'm in that position where, very more than financially secure and definitely don't need to do anything for money, but just can have fun. And luckily the kind of fun I like to have results in make money. And that's not even just making money. I mean, we have a lot of jobs that we provide a lot of people. And so we're financially responsible for a lot of people. I guess that I could say that's not as much a we, that's a me, that I'm financially responsible for all these people. But, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't want to stop anything we're doing. I just want to keep adding to it.
Do you have any casino aspirations?
No, I don't.
Do you have any political aspirations?
Definitely not.
You have a girlfriend?
I do.
You have kids?
I do not.
You're not married?
I am not.
You plan on it?
In life, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the part
Who's your best friends?
The two people that are the closest to me in the company.
You hang out like bullshit, like real best friends.
Yeah, they're real best friends.
When I was a kid, best friends, like you hang out all day, every day, it seems. And now people are like, who's your best friend? I'm like, dude, I'm an adult now. We don't have best friends. Because to me, best friends, like, dude, you're over at their house or they're over at yours every day. You have any of those?
Well,
if they're working with you, then you're there.
We see each other 10 hours a day, every day. I mean, the CEO of the business is the other youngest person there. We've went to school together since we were 3 years old, so pre-K through 12, and then he dropped out of college the same day I did. He actually dropped out 15 minutes before me, and he told me, and I was like, well, if you're dropping out, I'm dropping out, because he wanted to go all in on the business. I thought, well, if someone who's working for this is going to go all in, I got to go all in too. And the college stuff was annoying to me anyways.
So no degrees?
No, I didn't even make it through my freshman year. I did it to try to appease family, but then I was like, I'm sorry. You guys will be proud of me. You guys will be plenty proud of me with what I do with myself. If the degree is required, then I don't care to make you proud, to be honest, anymore.
Whenever you're talking to people, just say, I dropped out, but I ended up with, several degrees working for me.
Yeah, right. I truthfully, like I when people apply and they wave around their fancy schools and stuff, it doesn't mean anything to me. In fact, it kind of deters me because I'm pretty proudly Republican. A lot of these people now that go to these fancy schools are not that. And
really,
I mean, right? These people go to Columbia and they protest everything about this country and stuff. And it's not to say everybody that goes to college becomes super liberal. And it's not to say that liberals are bad people or anything like that. I'm not trying to make that assessment. But look, at the end of the day, when I first started the business, my co-founder, if you will, who's in charge of talent for us now, is a guy named Hayes Pillard. He was a middle linebacker for the Chargers. And we're only 2 years apart, and he's my other probably best friend, and he's married with kids and everything. But anyway, when we started the business, I started it, because I wanted to be able to help him. And he was like, can you help me get some brand deals? And I said, sure, I'll be happy to represent you. And I got him all these deals. And he was like, well, all my teammates see all this shit coming to my locker and see all the money I'm making on Instagram. They want help too. And all right, sure, introduce me to your teammates. I love football players, right? And so we just, we naturally
so you're more like an
started
agent.
the business that way. Well, I was for a year when we first started the business, but again, you kind of pivot and graduate. I was an agent, and then I realized, wait a second, we're on the wrong side of the equation. You don't want to represent talent. You want to represent the brands and go buy the talent. Pick who you think is actually best, as opposed to trying to convince a brand that, Hayes Pillard is the best person for them when it probably is not true. Right. And I think that's the thing too. Like you always, it's kind of why I'm Republican now. You want to sell people the truth. It's easy to sell the truth. It's hard to sell a lie. Kamala tried it, didn't work.
Wish I had a bomb for that.
And, so the point I was going to make about the political beliefs is because I have a business partner who's a former NFL guy, I'm younger. It's very much a very camaraderie filled team environment, our business, right? If you don't trust your teammate and you don't trust your teammate's judgment or things like that, then it's very hard to have that person as a teammate. Right? It's hard to throw somebody a pass if you don't think they're going to run the right route and all that kind of stuff. So I do make an effort to hire people that I feel like I'm like-minded to. And I'm not a publicly traded business, so I don't have to answer anybody. So I do that. And I think it's a strategy that works because it's people come to work. And I mean, I would say if you asked who's your best friend to most people in the company, they would point at someone else who works there. And I think that's an environment that has created success for us. Now, many businesses, you don't want that because people that sit there and get in a room and cut costs would probably say that limits maximum productivity and all that other stuff. It's the intangibles. I remember there was a story I told Steve that he loved where I tried bringing in I'm not trying to disparage against someone based on their age, but I brought in someone who was in their 50s to help be a senior executive kind of operator to do a little bit of that, look at the balance sheet, cut these things. The person lasted 3 months, and I'll tell you why. And I told Steve this story, and he was like, that's the kind of story I love to hear. A guy comes to my office without using the name because it's just a random person. He's like, we got to fire this person. And I sort of, what? Why would we ever fire that person? Well, no matter how you look at their numbers, no matter how you quantify it, they're low here, they're low here, they're low here, they're low here. And I'm like 23 years old. I'm in a weird spot because this guy's in fairness to him, he was humble enough to take a job from a 23-year-old and do it seriously and report to me and everything, which I had never experienced before. I had always hired people that were under 35 because if you're 30, 23, it's not that different, but 50, it's like a little different for sure. I said, now I'm not gonna say his name. I said, sir, I guess, right? Sir, this person that doesn't perform. I said, who are our top 5 people? So what do you mean? I said, just whatever the hell system you just used to tell me that we should fire this person. What is that system? Who does that system say are our top 5 people? A, B, C, D, E. I said, would you believe that the person that you're telling me to fire sits in the middle of those 5 people, right? I mean, that person is integral to why those 5 people do what they do. Have you thought about that? Well, no, but I mean, these people would do that. Thank you for your opinion. And then there was a couple more situations like that where he didn't feel listened to, and I said, I don't think this is going to work. But it's stuff like that where I'm like, I don't think people way underestimate. It's just like Steve said, and I was so confident in saying that. I'm like, I don't give a shit. This guy's 30 years older than me and has all this fancy experience that I hired him based off of. I trust Steve, and Steve told me people react and are inspired by and everything like that based on the way they're treated by other people. I know this guy treats everybody so well in office that's why these people are our most productive people. That person's required. Call it a loss leader. Who gives a shit? That person is what allows these people to do this. So I tell Steve this story. He's like, oh, that's what I would have done, and he loves it. And so, it's those kinds of things. Everybody's got their own style of how they want to run a business.
Well, it also shows that you trust yourself. Because a lot of younger guys that are in that position might think, oh, this guy's got all this experience, I better listen to him. And I've been in that situation where I felt like I don't know enough. And then at the end of the day, years later, I knew it the whole time. I just didn't do what you did, which is trust my instinct. Now I do. And it's like, dude, you're going to go a long ways. Dude, when the new studio's done, come back and we can chop it up some more because I like stories. Anytime. And folks, listen. I normally I'd say, hey, go hire he's not looking for anybody, but definitely go follow him if you want more stories. At Blake Wynn, right?
Yeah.
And then make sure on December 22nd you go wish him a happy birthday. But more importantly, August 30th, go check out where do they watch it?
We if you follow us on Instagram at Celebrity Poker Tour, we'll list it all, but the Poker Channel on DirecTV, any fast channel.
Yeah, go get it. Because your boy's going to be there and I'm going to clean up. If there's a bet Bet on it. Well, don't bet on it unless you can.
There will
afford
be
it.
a bet, so if they can do it,
Dude, I'm gonna mop the floor over there. I just hope to God there's nothing I cannot cancel on that particular day, which would have to be like, my wedding or something.
It's good we do 8 a year.
So I'll be there, folks. Make sure you guys tune into that. And as always, till next time, keep it real. Thanks for coming.